What's going on, everybody? Gentleman94 here. Welcome back to Ben Build. We're here with the Albatros. This is episode number 11. And today, everybody, I wanted to go ahead and push forward on parts of the rigging. Now, the Albatros, of course, being a World War I biplane, has quite a bit of rigging involved. So there's supports that go from the end of the wings all the way to the fuselage. Then there's some that goes from the top wing to the bottom wing. There's also cables that go here from the back tail into the fuselage on the top and the bottom. Those, I believe, are control cables for the rear tail. So we have a lot of rigging we're going to have to do. Now, I've actually picked up some easy line that I'm hoping to be able to use for this. And a couple episodes ago, you saw me create some attachment points out of wire. So I want to go ahead and focus on that today, see how much we can get done. So I've actually installed two already here off camera, just to kind of test them out, see how they worked, and they are not easy to install. You need to go ahead and hollow out a little bit of a hole there. You need to sand off the front area to get that fitted in. So we have two more to do, so I thought I'd just kind of walk you through those and show you how I installed them, just in case you're wondering. So these are the parts here. As you can see, they are very tiny. And I found it a good idea to go ahead and sand down the fronts of them because there's a very tiny mold seam that runs right down the middle of the entire piece. And I don't want that to interfere with any sort of rigging that we may do. So I'm going to go ahead and just sand off the very fronts of both of these, giving them a nice smooth appearance. Then I'm going to take my hobby knife and we're going to go ahead and just barely, with any pressure at all, because if I slip, I'm going to stab myself right in the finger. I'm going to take a very sharp blade and just do a little bit of pressure and create a bit of a dimple. I'm just going to dimple the very tips of these, and that's where I'm going to attach the easy line thread. I'm going to have to do that with super glue a bit later on, of course. But we just want to go ahead and give a little bit of an impression so that I can string this up when the time comes. I went ahead and put those in, dropped some of the Tamiya extra thin cement. They seem to be holding well. They're a little soft right now, so we're going to leave them till the next episode, and then that should be good enough for that part. Then, of course, we have to drill the holes in the fuselage and string everything up. Now, off camera, I actually installed one of my metal wires right here, so you can see on the underside of the Albatros's main wing. We do have several more we have to go ahead and do, so I'll walk you through what I did for that one. I basically took my hobby knife, I gave a little bit of pressure, and I drilled out, or actually opened up, one of the existing holes. Now, Edward is kind enough to go ahead and give you just a very basic dimple where each of these rigging wires should go, so this helps immensely. And I'm going to go ahead and just hollow that out just a little bit, and then I'm going to grab my homemade wires. Now, these are twisted around my pin vise, and it's made of very thin gauge wire that I had laying around. We're going to take one of those with my tweezers, and I'm just going to cut off the excess so that it doesn't stick up too far away from the actual surface. Now, I'm going to take a little bit of super glue, and I've actually added a little dab of super glue here on the underside of this paint cup. And I'm going to take my metal piece that I've made, I'm going to just dip it right inside that super glue, and then I'm going to push it into that hole and release the tweezers. Now, once that's somewhat settled in, I'm going to take a wire here that I've cut at an angle, and I'm going to dip it just a little bit in the glue and just kind of rub it right there into that area. And I think if I do this enough, I should be gathering just a little bit of super glue that should help to kind of solidify and get this piece all set up and ready to go. I'm not sure how much tension is going to be on each one of these wire loops, but I want it to be strong enough so that it doesn't completely rip out of the actual plastic. Now we have to the other side as well. We have quite a bit to do, so we're going to push on and let's see how it goes. And despite a few issues that I had with a couple of those wire loops, everything looks good. It's solidified. I'm letting it dry and cure off camera. We do have to go ahead and attack here the very front of the fuselage because there's also 2 of these metal loops that we have to install on either side of the nose. Now I'm going to do the same technique. I'm just going to go ahead and round out that hole. And luckily there again is a dimple set up on each of these areas, so we kind of know where the actual wire is going to go. I'm just going to hollow that out so I can install the actual wire piece. And I think I'll get the other one while I am at it. I'm not putting too much pressure on this because I don't want to accidentally slip, slice my finger up, and I don't want to dig too deep. I just want enough so that we can just stick that metal wire right in there, glue it down, and we should be good to go. So a couple of more revolutions on this and I think we should be pretty decent. Let's go ahead and try. I think that's good. We have one on either side. So let's try the actual wires themselves. All right, I have one here all trimmed up. Let's see how it looks. Get it right into that hole and release our tweezers, right like that. Okay, yeah, it actually works. Perfect. I'm using my flat-nosed tweezers and I'm just going to go ahead and position it where I think it needs to go. And I think that's going to about do it on that side. So again, take a little bit of the wire. We're going to dip it in the super glue and we're just going to drop a little bit on the edges of this hole. I really want to make sure this stays. I don't want to pull out. When I go to string that wire through, I get a little more tension. It pulls it right out. That's not going to be good. So I want it to be solidified and secure so I can give a little bit of tension on the easy line. So you can see a little close up here. We have one in. We need to put one more. So we're going to go ahead and do that right here. Same technique. So you can see we have both of those installed. And really, honestly, they're very tiny, but they should function exactly the way I need them to function. So I'm excited. This should be fun. So that is it for me today, guys. That took me a long time with very, very tiny pieces. And I think, yeah, we're going to go ahead and call it. Next episode, I got to do some painting on that rear tail. I have to then go ahead and let these dry so I can install the wings onto the supports. And I have to go ahead and string up the rigging. I have to do the landing gears and all those supports as well. The wings do need a little bit of cleanup though, because on one of the wings I had a little bit of super glue that ran. Unfortunately, it happens. It's no big deal. So I should be able to just overpaint that and we should be good to go. But other than that, guys, we do have to work a little bit on the actual attachment point for the wings to the fuselage. I'm going to look at some of the wing nut kits and see if that doesn't help me kind of figure out where to go with that. Tune in next week for hopefully another very large update. I'm hoping to get a lot of stuff done next episode. So until then, guys, go out, get yourself some bench time, have some fun, build something crazy, and we'll see you back here next time on Ben Builds. Thanks so much, guys. Take care.